All right, we are Professionals Insurance. This is Mike speaking. Also have Travis here.
Hello.
Uh, as you can see here, we'll just get started. We did get to 10 interviews this week. That's a combination of myself, Travis, and Sean. Um, we've been meeting with people that are a little bit more involved on the business day to day. So we've really been trying to kind of shift our question sets to reflect some of the changes that we've seen in our business model canvas for the week. One thing that we did want to make a disclaimer about before we get started is our email addresses, which we've added to this slide. If there's any feedback that anybody has, I know that there's a limit of two responses that people are providing each week. But we would welcome anybody to please reach out to us via email. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything of that nature, we're more than happy to take the feedback. So just kind of going into the business model canvas, some of the key additions are going to be in key partnerships as well as channels and our customer segments. We have consolidated that data as well into human resources departments and the end users or employees. Our channels, we have eliminated the website for now. We may circle back to that later on, but for now, we're definitely viewing this as more of a direct-to-consumer type product, whether that's the human resources department or the actual end users. So we did add in brokers here based on a couple of our conversations this week. One of the recurring bits of information that kind of surfaced was, in addition to the vendors, which we learned about last week, there are also insurance brokers that work with some of these companies as well. And these brokerages are essentially tasked with going out and finding new and innovative products that these companies can offer as a part of their compensation structure. So we have added those in there as well, not the vendors, just the brokers, because we may actually be able to reach out to brokers and have them offer our product as an independent. So we have also added in to key partnerships, brokers and vendors. There will likely be a great deal of kind of relationship building that we'll need to do, whether it's a third-party broker or some of the vendors that are already in place. Do you have anything to add to that? Okay. So that's basically the majority of our changes from the business model canvas this week. And we will talk a little bit more about some of the key points that we went over here in some of the coming slides. Just kind of some of the updates for this previous week. We have begun using a minimum viable product. We have two right now, one for the end user and one for human resources professionals. We'll be bringing those to class next week to hand out to you guys so you can take a look. But these are essentially just brochures that go into a little bit more depth on what the product is, things like that. We've been using them kind of as a talking point, as a prop in our conversations, just to kind of help people get a little bit better understanding of what specifically we're talking about. And there are some good talking points in there as well. Some of our key findings, we have picked out that insurance brokers and vendors, like we said, could be possible partners. And these brokers could also function as key channels to distribute our product through. Also seeing that based on some of the feedback that we got from last week, we did consolidate our customer segments to include human resources departments and end users. We stripped out some of the IPO, private companies, public companies, things like that to consolidate that list.
And so some of the next steps we've kind of discovered through our interviews this week is to really dig into the estimate of what the product's going to cost, what it's going to cost to develop, what the end user cost is, both to companies and to the individual. And the route we're going to do that is through risk management or underwriters. So we've reached out to different underwriters through an underwriting society of Phoenix, a local chapter here, and I've been in discussions with multiple underwriters as far as trying to piece together some numbers for us. We don't have anything hard and fast as of yet, but we do have an entry and we do have a few contacts we're working with to help develop those numbers for future class periods. Additionally, we're going to look to reach out to insurance brokers, kind of a hired sales staff, if you will, the mercenary of the sales world. These are the folks that are going to come in and provide us the sales channel outside of what us as a direct vendor to these companies can provide. So these can be a little bit more expensive, but they also have established networks and relationships that provide easier access to some of these massive companies. Also, as another route to kind of open up our understanding of HR development and vendor relationships, we were really looking into finding something along the lines of health insurance sales folks to see what their relationships with some of these larger companies are, to develop the relationships with somebody like United Healthcare or Humana that are selling very, very massive health insurance policies, and how they go about pitching those to those companies, and just kind of the general vendor relationship with that corporation.
And just the reason behind doing that, we've met with a handful of people that are on the business end, and just getting familiarity with what they're currently doing to address some of these needs to find new benefits and to keep employees happy and things like that. Now we're essentially taking that research and trying to apply it a little bit more holistically by reaching out to the people that are actually in charge of making those points of contact with the companies and actually trying to get those products sold.
All right, so next we've got our channel economics. So the model we're going with is the resellers model. We kind of can go in between here, but really we think this one fits the best. So what we're looking at is our cost of developing the product, which in this case somewhat kind of fits the R&D. But the cost of the goods sold in our case is going to fit into a few different areas, one of which is going to be reinsurance. So once we have a product that we're going to actively go out and sell to companies, we're going to also have contracted reinsurance where we're offloading the risk of failing, or I should say filing a claim on that insurance product to another company. So this is going to provide a cost to us, but we're going to incorporate that into the cost of the goods sold so as to not break down the profit later on down the road. We've also got our profit, SG&A, and R&D. That's going to be the developing of the product itself, going out actively selling it, the MVP, etc., so that we do have something hard and physical to provide the consumer. We've got our sliver of revenues where we're operating at. Resellers is going to be going back to the insurance brokers. So if we do have a hired sales staff going out and actively pitching this product to different companies, they're obviously going to want their piece, and this is where they fit into the equation here. And then ultimately we have our end user discounts. This is going to be extremely variant depending on the company, corporation, different variables involved with the size of the product, how many users, etc. But ultimately we do provide a little bit of cushion for end user discounts. And going into the channel phases diagram, we do have an indirect channel, as at this point we're looking to cater this to HR departments and allowing the HR department in turn to disseminate the information to the end user, the ultimate person who's going to purchase this, or some sort of subsidized cost. So there's two different routes we can go through the indirect channel, and as we've discussed before, our own aspect, which would be the vendor supplying the product to the HR department, but also using partners like insurance brokers in order to provide that sales staff that we don't have to keep in-house. So the different channel phases to go through are going to be trade shows, in the awareness area, our trade shows and direct outreach. We found through our research that HR department trade shows and managerial trade shows are extremely popular for disseminating new and innovative products and the compensation/insurance arena. So going to meet those HR reps, directors, VPs is going to be hugely beneficial if we can get into some of those trade shows. Also doing direct outreach. This is more of your cold call sales type of scenario, but ultimately it's there because it is effective. So we definitely want to incorporate that into our sales model. As far as the evaluation, every company's got a different pain point, be it a small company, large company, publicly traded or privately held. Everybody's going to have a different pain point in how this is going to apply to their employees. And so we need to identify each of those and strategically position our product to every company type. So this is not going to be an out of the box, this fits everybody. So it's going to make it a little more unique in that sense. As far as purchasing, we can go through the broker sales where they get the reseller cut. And then we also have direct sales models where we're going straight to those companies to provide.
On the delivery and after sales end, for the delivery, aspect, we're going to be providing the explanation of benefits to these employees. And then were they to ultimately get terminated after the sale, physical product delivery would be presented, and transition consultants would also come in to aid them as well.